Hello. Today I want to talk about the effect of shift work in the society and on individuals. Millions and millions of Americans have to do shift work. This is based on the reality of our 24/7 society and also based on the demands of the people and the societies and our communities. For example, we need police officers, we need doctors, we need nurses who have to work around the clock. We need emergency medical technicians. In America, around 30% or 35% of the jobs are not regular 9 to 5 jobs. And in other countries, it is around the same thing, around 20 to 40% of the jobs across the globe are jobs that are not normal 9 to 5 jobs. And among the people who work these jobs, around 30% of them start getting in trouble, who become symptomatic with these jobs. However, a lot of people don't become symptomatic, but it still affects them in so many different ways. I give you an example. I think I have talked about it before. I used to have a job that was for around 10 months completely nocturnal night job. I would go to the hospital at 7 p.m. and I would come out at 7 a.m. The job was very demanding. I had to cover on around 200 patients. We could have up to 30 admissions. I had multiple house staff and teams and nurse practitioners that I had to manage. So the job was demanding, and I could not get any rest during this job. From the moment we go till the moment we finish, it was go, go, go. I would go home. Almost every day I had a terrible headache. I would be sleepy. I would be cranky. It would affect care of my little child. And I didn't feel happy. I was apathic. Maybe we can call it feeling like blah. And I was feeling that I was getting depressed. A lot of people are in my shoe. And by the way, I gained 20 pounds during that 10 months. A lot of people are in my shoe. There is genetic factors that make some people a little bit more not apt for shift work and some people a little bit better. And also there is response to light, that some people could have a decent sleep during the daytime and some people cannot get a good sleep during the daytime because of light exposure, because of social exposure, because of daily tasks that need to be done. For example, I bought my first house during that era around 20 years ago. So we know that people who shift work a lot, they get sleep deprived. This will be seen less in people who do evening shift. For example, they go 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. They sometimes actually get more sleep in this subcategory. But the social isolation in this subcategory is something that is real bothersome. They can't get any socialization done because most of human socialization happens in the evening. And then there is rotatory shift that have some good about it, have some bad things about it. The consensus is out, and we cannot call as a blanket if it's a good thing or a bad thing. We know the shifts that move forward are better than the shifts go backward because it's very hard to go back on the shift. It's easier for the brain to go forward. For example, it's easier for you to go to Hawaii if you are living in the United States than to London. Because of same reason, the shift that moves forward is easier. The shifts that move very fast does not give you opportunity to acclimate with circadian changes. In some situation, it might be better. Also, you have some opportunity for family time, some opportunity for socialization, and some opportunity for doing your daily living functions, like going to offices and post office and bank and this while you're not at work or while you're not supposed to sleep. But somebody who sleeps, who works, but somebody who works all the time in the night, we know they have less sleep. And that sleep deficiency is gonna get them over time. It's a really, really important deficiency in their life. Another thing that is very well researched in shift workers is that we know almost all shift workers go back to normal daily routines when they are not working, to attend to their kids, to see their family, to do social events. And this change that happens every week in their life is as if they went to London and come back for 2 days. So their circadian cycle starts moving, but it has to go back because of going to work. However, not all the hormones move their cycles together. Some of them move faster, some of them move slower, so they become not synced to each other. For example, your thyroid hormone, your cortisol hormone, your growth hormone, and a lot of other different cyclic chemicals in your body become unsynced to each other, and that causes a dysynchronosis that is also very well known that it's a bad event for your health. And the more time you stay in the state of dysynchronosis, it's worse for you. So the recommendation is, as much as possible, on the off day, keep the on work day schedule. Another group of people are the people who start working very early in the day, sometimes around 4 to 7 a.m. start time. These people have to wake up when they are really sleepy. And we know that this group of people also tend to become sleep deficient. So they have to commute when they are sleep deficient, and when, because of their circadian cycle, they are very sleepy. So risk of car accidents go way high in these people. There is a concept called sleep inertia. When you are sleepy, you cannot just come out of the sleep immediately, and it takes time. So that's the exact time that these sleepy people who woke up way early to go to work have to commute, and the risk of accidents go way high. Also, these people stay excessively sleepy during the work time, partly because of a sleep fragmentation and also a sleep insufficiency, that it affects their job and productivity as well. So shift workers have tendency to sleep less, have tendency to have fragmented sleep, have environmental disruptors of the sleep, like it's the daytime, the postman comes or the cabinet guy comes and wants to fix something, and things happen in the daytime. So they cannot get a good sleep, and that not getting a good sleep make them very sleepy. Additionally, their circadian cycle is altered, but the day and night are not altered, so it causes a misalignment between the environmental circadian signal and the chemical circadian signal that makes circadian pattern weak and problematic. And all of that also feeds into a sleepiness and lack of productivity. I'd like to give you some interesting statistics. 35% of day workers are sleep insufficient versus around 2/3 or 70% of night workers are sleep insufficient. Nurses who work in the night shift, up to 80% of them have reported a near miss car accident or drowsy driving on the way back home, which is a very, very major risk for accident. I do remember one day, maybe 20 years ago, I was going through multiple red lights to get from my ICU shift to home. And multiple red lights, I felt asleep. And the honk of the car behind me woke me up. I go a few red lights. Again, the right light is red. I fell asleep, and the same thing happened. It was before I was a sleep doctor, and I was gaining this kind of information. And I decided that I'm not going to drive home from the work, and I started using BART on my shifts so I wouldn't get sleepy and put myself and others in danger. We know that Chernobyl nuclear disaster and multiple airliner disasters have been associated to sleepiness events and loss of alertness. of the operators, like pilots or nuclear operators. We know that EMTs, policemen, at the end of the shift, they become so sleepy that it can be compared to amount of sleepiness that a narcoleptic person has, which is really sleepy. So at that point, the judgment can be impaired. At that point, the vigilance is impaired and reaction time is impaired. So especially the longer shift, like 10-hour or more than 10-hour shift that sometimes the shift workers take, has even worse effect on this loss of alertness, that employers and employee himself and the system designers have to be alert about this and to be proactive about this so disasters don't happen. About occupational changes that can happen in institutions and organizations, I will put another talk shortly. As far as the risk to individual health, lots of data is available. A very landmark large study that came from Scandinavia showed that nurses who did long shift work, they have 40 to 60% more risk of breast cancer. Also, longitudinal studies showed that rectal cancer increases in people who do long-term shift work. And the more shift work you do, the more rate of rectal cancer you have. Duodenal ulcer is related to shift work and cardiovascular death. Unfortunately, in my own practice, I now know two individuals, both of them long-term patients of mine, and multiple times I told them, you have to sleep, this way of working is not right. Both of these individuals, due to immigration, they took night job and they had a day job. And they were saying, I catch my sleep here and there, I'm fine. They were not fine. And on the sad note, none of them are with us. Different reasons that I just mentioned, interestingly, a few minutes ago. On mental health landscape, depression and anxiety is related to shift work. So somebody who has a family history or previous history of anxiety and depression has to really look and see how this work is affecting him, and is it the shift work that is causing problem for him or her. It is known that shift work affect the family interaction, and very interestingly, we know that it's a very large study that shows the children of the parents who do shift work between age of 5 to 12 tend to show behavioral aberrancy and behavioral problem. Well, obviously, if the mom is not there, if the dad is not there, well, this child can go astray or different ways, and that's not a good thing. Lastly, today I wanted to talk about the misalignment between the environmental signal and the circadian signal inside the brain. Some people can tolerate it better, some people cannot tolerate it that well. Genetic issues like polymorphism of clock gene has been shown to have something to do with it. Also, the response of the brain to light, because even when our eyes are closed, we can see the light, and that light can translate into signal inside of the brain, and how it affects one individual brain is different than how it affects another individual brain. And that also is a factor that might make somebody more tolerant to shift work or less tolerant to shift work. My last word is that if you can avoid doing shift work, even though as a society we need shift workers, if you see the shift work is affecting you, it's a bad thing for you and your family. You have to get out. Additionally, you have to understand this shift work will affect your health. So try to do the shift work as short and brief as possible, or as a part-time, or somehow get out of it. The humans are diurnal. They are hardwired to be awake in the morning to be asleep in the night. So don't try to go against the nature because it will affect you. Again, short time, some time is probably fine. You have to be aware of the risk. You have to be aware of the sleepiness risk. You have to be aware that your productivity will be less than your peer who work in the daytime. Also, you have to know that you do not have managerial support that the day people have, so you may get into performance issues more than somebody who works in the morning. You have to take care of your health and long-term risk to yourself because we work to live and not the other way. And with this, I leave you here. Next week, I'm hoping to specifically talking about shift work disorder and how to diagnose it and the treatments available for shift work disorder. Thank you.